Hey Al, how's it going? If you're interested in learning how to self-massage and stretch your fingers and your hands, and we'll get into the wrists, then stay tuned. Perhaps you're a musician or you work with your hands a lot. You might have arthritis or you might have tight, intense fingers or they crack a lot. All right, this is gonna help you so much. I'm gonna show you some resistance stretches for the fingers. So you're not only going to get them more flexible and lengthen them, but you're also going to strengthen them. If we haven't met yet, my name is Frances Eve, and I've created a Holy Stretch to help you feel good and feel free in your body. If self-massage and stretching is something that you want to learn more about, then subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more videos where this came from. Hey there, welcome back. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to take one hand, so you choose whichever hand you want to start with. I'm starting with my left. And go ahead and extend the fingers out. So you want to stretch them out so that we start to get a look at where the bones lay, the metacarpals. And take your thumb from the other hand and just begin to palpate. So what that means is you just want to feel around with the thumb where the bones are. And what we're doing is we're releasing the tissues away from the bones to create space in the hand. So continuing to stretch the fingers open, allow your thumb to make room in between each finger and metacarpal. Next, take your thumb inside of the other thumb. So in that fatty portion, this is actually a large intestine pressure point, and it can release headaches. And I did say power because it is a very powerful point. If you are experiencing any kind of anxiety, tension, anything like that, this is a really great way to release that. So just gently press into it. And if it's painful, because it is painful on a lot of people, just go ahead and release the pressure slightly, but you do want to hold the pressure to an extent where it begins to release. And go ahead and take the thumb and press into the middle portion between the first finger and the middle finger. And so you're just starting to squeeze and create space in between each finger. And gently squeezing the skin in between. You can take the thumb and gently push up, noticing where the fingers attach and then creating space. Pushing from the joint up towards the in-between space of the fingers. Awesome. If you lose where you are, just continue to stretch open those fingers and gently press in between the joints. So separating the joints. Sometimes when your hands get really tense or they are inflamed, then the tissues can squeeze your fingers together, and that can create tension in the whole hand, the wrist, and the forearm. So by releasing the fingers, we can create a nice freedom in the arm and movement in the fingers. Separating the phalanges so that you can move with grace. Working on that last finger now, pressing into that space. Just nice gentle squeezes here. Awesome. Working your way down towards the wrist. We can take the thumb and just press into the top of the wrist and drag it across the tendons. So by going perpendicular, you can also create space in there. So massaging out the wrist and then taking the thumb and pressing all the way up towards the fingers again. So how to create resistance to open up the wrist? What we want to do is press the thumb into the wrist And pressing the hand down, we want to just lift the hand up. So notice how my thumb is pressing into the wrist to lift the hand up. We're creating resistance by pressing the hand down, pressing the thumb into the wrist, and lifting up. And then going the opposite way. So by creating resistance, what we do is we break down that conglomerated tissue in the wrist and start to break it down. Sometimes there's scar tissue in the wrist. We hold on to a lot of tension, stress, anxiety here as well. So creating that resistance, we can actually break that down. And once again, allowing your thumb to press on top of the wrist to lift the hand up, and then the opposite way underneath, pressing down. Awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and flip the hand over, and you want to gently press into the area where the wrist meets the hand, and stretching the fingers out, and then relaxing the hand. So you get into the muscle tissues while they are contracted and while they are relaxed. Taking the thumb and pressing into the fatty area of the pinky finger, what we're doing now is we're doing the same thing. We are separating the phalanges and the metacarpals by pressing the thumb into the bones and the joints, right in between the fingers. You got it. Gently pressing into the middle of the hand and just relaxing the hand, just allowing this point to release. This can be a big pressure point for a lot of people. It's very nice to release the entire hand this way by pressing the thumb into the middle of the hand and surrendering that hand into the pressure. Taking the thumb and pressing into that fatty portion once again, and surrendering the hand. Beautiful. Next, we're going to just loosen up the joints, the finger joints, where the phalanges meet the metacarpals. We're taking the thumb and just gently massaging the joints. Try and relax the fingers as much as possible so that you're really just working in between the joints. There's a little motion pushing up, a little squeeze. All right, excellent. So now what we're going to do is work on some resistance stretching for the fingers. So what does that look like? You will take the opposite hand and pulling the pinky finger downwards, you're going to use the muscles in that pinky finger to lift up. So creating resistance in here. So the pinky finger is extended out, and as it extends out, you take the opposite hand to pull it down, keeping those muscles contracted. What this is doing is really working on that joint and breaking down any fascia that has been accumulating in that area. We can do it with the thumb, so I'm pulling the thumb down and pressing the thumb into the bottom joint. We just press the thumb forward and stretch it back. So the resistance is in the contraction of the muscle downwards, and we stretch it back, keeping it contracted. So let's go ahead and stretch the thumb this way, resting the hand flat. We're going to go ahead and gently pull on the thumb. We can use a PNF strategy here, a push and release. So we're pressing the thumb into the hand and then releasing out. Creating more resistance stretching here. We want to press the thumb down and lift it up.
So right now we're just playing with the thumb joint. We're creating resistance as we pull it open. So just simply stretching the thumb without contracting the muscle will stretch it, but it won't be as effective or long lasting. So really, to break down any dense fascia, any scar tissue, any of that, you really want to contract the muscle in the phalange being stretched. Moving on to the index finger, I want to pull that finger down. Notice how I'm pulling it down, and then taking the thumb to the joint to lift it up. Okay, this might take a little practice. You might want to pause the video to practice or rewind it. But ultimately, what you're doing is you're contracting the finger muscle and pulling it up to stretch at the same time, okay? And there's a little give and take here. So that if I lift my finger all the way up and let go, it'll snap back down to the table. Lifting up and pulling it down. Kind of like little finger push-ups. You want to contract the muscles in the fingers. This will start to activate them and give them a much deeper stretch. We can even work out the tip of the finger as well. Awesome. And this creates a lot of free space in the fingers. Beautiful. Moving on to the middle finger. We're pulling the middle finger downwards towards the palm and then taking the opposite hand to lift up. So be careful, you don't want to crank that muscle open. You just want to stretch it with some resistance. So be gentle in this practice. And it's a lifting and pulling down, a lifting and pulling down. Working out those little fingers, making them strong, stretching them out, creating length and strength. Giving your attention, your love to one finger at a time. Really noticing what kind of space you're creating. Lifting up and letting it snap back down. And then we're moving on to the ring finger. Shaking out the ring finger, we're going to pull it down towards the palm once again and lifting it up. Strengthening it down. Stretch. You might notice while you do these stretches that you feel a release in your forearm, underside of your forearm. And the tips of the fingers also carry a lot of stress. So this is a really nice stress reliever. You just want to work a few times with the fingers until you notice a little more flexibility than you had before. And letting it snap back down. You're doing great. One more finger to go. And then if you want, you can stop the video and work on the other hand, or just continue with the stretches and massages on this hand. So go ahead and take the pinky finger, lifting up, finding the pinky finger strength to pull back down. Lifting up, creating resistance in the stretch. Some fingers you notice will be a little weaker than others. Some will be a little stronger. And the ones that are a little weaker, you can work more on the resistance part to strengthen them. The ones that are a bit stronger, notice if you can create more space to make even more flexibility. Pulling down and lifting up. Yep, and you don't really need your whole hand to lift up this little finger. You can just use your pointer finger to lift up and let it pull back down. All right, so we have created space in between the joints. We've created strength in the fingers and flexibility. So we're just about done. Just what we get to do is flex the fingers. See if you notice any difference between the beginning and now. Just stretching one finger open at a time, one at a time. And if you feel that you need to go back and do the resistance stretches, please do. And if you'd like to work on your other hand, just go ahead and rewind the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It's been my pleasure to support you in finding freedom and feeling good. Take care, everyone. Have a beautiful day.